All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Right now, Lane Kiffin sounds like a man who is torn between three lovers, as we don't know if this coveted football coach will remain in Ole Miss or will he take his talents either to LSU or Florida? The bottom line is that Kiffin needs to make up his mind as to whether or not that he's going to be committed to Ole Miss or if it's going to be basically the same song and dance each year. I say this because we've seen Ole Miss give him extensions on his contract. While in just 6 years there, he's taken this Rebels football program to heights that they haven't seen in nearly 60 years. This really should be a joyous time for Ole Miss as they're on the verge of being playoff bound for just the first time in school history. But instead, they're waiting to see if they're still going to be good enough to retain Lane Kiffin. Now, both Florida and LSU are going to flood Kiffin with money and resources as both of these schools are desperate to win on Saturdays. But like I always say, all money is not good money. In the last 10 years, LSU has fired a pair of head coaches who brought them national championships, while their most recent head coach, Brian Kelly, was doomed from the word go in Baton Rouge. Okay. And if Kiffin, if he were to go to LSU, hypothetically speaking, and if he was unable to hit the ground running there from the word go after he takes LSU's money, then you know what? He would then be the next former head coach at Louisiana State that would be getting a pension check, aka a big buyout. Florida, they are so desperate to get back into the national spotlight because they have simply become an afterthought in the SEC. And then there's Ole Miss, okay, who took a chance on Lane Kiffin after his success at Florida Atlantic, which was on the heels of his stay at the Nick Saban coaching clinic in Tuscaloosa. Now, Kiffin is 54 and 19 at Ole Miss. And unlike the way that it would be for him in Gainesville or Baton Rouge, okay, there is zero pressure on him in Oxford as they love him. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, you're going to get paid at Ole Miss. LSU and Florida are probably going to pay you more. Okay. How much money do you need? And can money buy you happiness? Okay. But whatever Kiffin is going to do for his coaching career, I really feel he needs to make a decision now because the bottom line is it's a distraction for his program right now. And again, you look at Ole Miss. We're talking about a club that is 10-1. They're more than likely going, barring something unforeseen, they're going to make the playoff. Okay, they need to be as focused as possible on that goal of getting to the college football playoff and making a run at the championship, not having to worry about whether or not they're going to have their head coach. Okay. So I really feel that he needs to make he needs to do right, maybe not by the school, maybe not by the program, but the kids on that team, okay, that have been committed to him this season. All right. But LSU and Hope and Florida are each hopeful that Kiffin can do the same thing for them that he's currently doing at Ole Miss, or else we're not having this conversation right now. But the bottom line is, you ask yourself, what is the next step in this Lane Kiffin saga? The bottom line is, I think Lane Kiffin enjoys this. I really do. I think he enjoys the attention. I think he enjoys being wooed. I think he enjoys being courted. Okay. And at the end of the day, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida are all going to do the same thing. They're going to stroke his ego. Okay. For me, where will I see Lane Kiffin coaching next year? Uh, I think the smart money is on LSU. I truly do. Okay, I could be wrong, but I think the smart money is on LSU. I think Ole Miss at the end of the day is pulling up the rear in this thing, and I think Florida is second. I could totally be wrong on this. All right. But it's one of those where I just think where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think if Lane Kiffin was truly committed to Oxford, he'd be truly committed to Oxford, and LSU and Florida would be taking their respective coaching searches in a different direction. But nonetheless, like I said, he needs to either commit to Ole Miss or just say, you know what, I'm done. Thanks for playing, and I'm moving on. But the bottom line is, it's put up or shut up time for Lane. What is he going to do? Is he going to remain in Oxford at Ole Miss? Is he going to go to Baton Rouge, or is he going to go to Florida? And I'll tell you like this: if Lane Kiffin leaves and goes to either LSU or Florida, I'm not even going to say it's going to be Nick Saban vibes when Nick Saban went to Alabama. Because if you remember, Nick Saban did leave LSU for the Miami Dolphins, and when he got fired, or basically he didn't get fired. I take that back. But things just weren't working out for him with the Miami Dolphins, and Alabama came a calling. You know what? He got on that plane to Tuscaloosa quicker than you can bat an eye. This time around, you have a scenario where Lane would not only be leaving Ole Miss, but he'd be leaving Ole Miss for another school within the conference. He's one of the most beloved people in the state of Mississippi right now, and I guarantee you, in the drop of a dime, he would be one of the most vilified people in that state if he were to say no to them and instead take his ball and go to Gainesville or Baton Rouge. But nonetheless, the story's not going away, folks, until Lane Kiffin makes a concrete decision and gives the world, the college football world, a definitive answer on this. Like I said, I think he enjoys the attention. I think he enjoys the pizzazz, but nobody knows what Lane Kiffin is going to do. So at the end of the day, we just got to sit back and wait while the folks in Oxford, Baton Rouge, and Gainesville are all on bated breath. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it'll be my pleasure to do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, definitely check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.